the interludes. So when I was creating this project, I had like the 6 recorded songs. But as I was recording the 6 recorded songs, I still wanted something that would tie everything together, that would, I guess, touch people. I know that there's, always room for improvement in technicality and double entendres, triple entendres, metaphors, similes, all that when it comes to hip hop, rap, content, whatever. But one of the main things that I really wanted to focus on as an artist is I wanted to create content that makes people feel something. That's my main goal. If I ever forget it, someone please show this to me so I can remember. But I really wanted to create something that made people feel something. And of course I had the 6 songs, and I do think that I did that. But I really wanted to create something that just kind of bridged it all together and also showed more elements of me as a person beyond just the music. So before I started working on the project, I created a podcast available on most podcast platforms. But the podcast was called the Dimper Podcast. And it stood for digital influencers and PR professionals. Because back before the COVID pandemic, I used to do these events where influencers and PR professionals would meet up to grow their relationship with one another. And with the pandemic, I wanted to keep that going, and thus the podcast happened. And I did a series of interviews with both influencers and PR professionals. I still plan to keep that going, but it's going to be a different approach, but more on that later. But anyhow, as I listened to my podcast, sometimes I found that there were gems in those podcast conversations that I had with those amazing people that I wanted to incorporate into the album. So that's what the interludes are. It's basically real conversations that I'm having with people that are intertwined into the album to kind of connect the pieces. So one of them is called Moments of Ugly. And in Moments of Ugly, I talk about how I was with somebody and we broke up and it was really ugly. But because of that situation, I was able to, it was actually the jumping off point, the springboard of my self-exploration. Like, had I stayed in that relationship, me going into this evolution of myself may have never happened. Another one was called Recharge, where we're just having a casual conversation, and I realized that if I really fully rested, I can get more done in a day. Like, we live in what's called hustle culture, and it's like go, 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 go. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I always hated that comment that I'll sleep when I'm dead, because I just don't believe in unhealthy practices just to get yours. And one thing that I noticed is that with hustle culture, you're not really living to your full potential because you're so tired. And I realized, especially with the pandemic, with everyone slowing down, was that the more rest you can do, you can get more done when you're rested than when you're not rested. So it's like, so a lot of it, an excuse that people will have is like, I can't get rest. I got to complete X, Y, and Z. I got to complete X, Y, and Z. So you're trying to complete X, Y, and Z while you're sleepy, and because you're sleepy, it's taking you 2 hours. But had you just went to sleep, you could have woke up and completed it in 5 minutes. So it's probably worth just taking the rest, right? And if you're dead, then you made all of that and you didn't even get to benefit from it. Like, there was a time where I had a job and I made a ton of money. That's not there anymore. So if anyone's looking to borrow something from me, I ain't got it. But I was making a good salary, but I never could enjoy it. I was not healthy, and I had no time for myself. And I remember when I lost that job, people would see me and they was like, Vanessa, you look great. You look great. What are you doing? I lost my job. And just losing my job, I was able to get more sleep. I was eating better. I was a little bit more active. And thus it showed in my appearance. So those are kind of like just some of the little jewels that's in the interludes. I know some people kind of skip over the interludes, but I'm really excited that when people did listen to the album for the first time, I got a lot of feedback on the interludes. So I think it's worth talking about as a separate entity within itself, because actually, like I said, those interludes are part of a longer conversation, which people can still check out if they go check out the Dimper podcast, or you can just listen to the little snippets of it in the album. I've always been a fan of interludes personally. I know, like, and I think interludes are maybe like teasers for what's to come in the next project. Easter egg. And I always just wanted art, like when I hear interlude, I always hoped that the artist will expand upon that in the next project or whatever. But I've always been a fan of interludes. I always thought that it connected the album really well. For example, Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill is definitely an idol of mine. I loved her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And when you listen to that album, you'll hear the interludes of her, of like different kids talking about the subject matters, you know, between songs and things like that. So that was an inspiration that I like. Most recently, Jasmine Sullivan, she put out an album, The Hotels, and she had interludes where there was storytelling, and so there's a bit of that in there. So definitely had inspiration from like other female artists who did that, but I put the interludes in there as a bridge to the overall storytelling. So for example, before Higher, I talk about a particular friendship that mirrors Higher. I didn't write Higher for this particular friend, but it definitely was applicable. And it's just a bridge. It's just like, you know, it connects you from one thing to the next. Like, I want the album to be an experience. I don't want this to just be an album. I want listening to the album to be an experience for those who listen to it. I want you to be able to hit shuffle and hear what you want to hear, but I also want it is curated from a beginning to the end experience. And so if you do go through it from beginning to the end, it's a story being told. Like, it's not on purpose that Grown Up Crushes goes before, you know, Ain't Working Out, because Grown Up Crushes is how it starts. You start with that grown up crush, and then you get that person, and it's like, it's not working out, you know. But in between Grown Up Crushes and Ain't Working Out, there's moments of ugly where I talk about, hey, I was with this person, it didn't work out, and it was the most beautiful thing ever, because even though that moment that it happened, it was extremely ugly, it resulted into an evolution, you know. So it's kind of like a bridge of connecting things together. It's a thread. Interludes are like a thread. What do I hope the interludes will do for the audience? Again, I'm hoping that it would invoke emotion. It will make you go, I never thought of that. Or, yeah, that's the inspiration, or that's the word that I needed. One thing that's like really popular, that trends a lot on Instagram when people like reshare on stories, are like those quotes that's like, you know, don't worry if you fuck up, because fuck ups happen to everyone, and it's just a moment in time, and you're gonna fuck up again, and we all fuck up. So, you know, just keep going and learn from your fuck ups. And then people like, yes, repost that. And that's kind of like what this is. It's like these little moments of, you know, like encouragement. It's kind of like an encouragement. So it's like my pseudo job. Like, even though this album is a part of me, and it's showing something, it's kind of me being like your motivational speaker, so to say. And that's definitely something I hope to continue to incorporate in all of my projects.